Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being with us this morning for this Nucamp open house. My name is Karim Ludo. I'm the founder and CEO of Nucamp, and together with me is my partner, the other founder and Chief Product Officer, Ludo Farage.
Hello, everyone.
So once again, thanks for taking the time to be with us this morning. Apologies for some of you who tried to log on earlier this week. We had some snow events here, and we couldn't hold our open house at the initial date. So happy that we could make up for it today. We're going to spend about an hour together. We'll spend the first 30 minutes talking to you about Nucamp. We have a few slides to get a little bit into what Nucamp is all about, what we offer, what's special about Nucamp, probably cover some of the basic questions you have. And then we will move on to a Q&A session for the second part of the meeting. You are actually welcome to start putting in your questions in the chat box that's available to you, and we will simply go through those questions in order when we get to the Q&A. So with that, let's just get started with what is Nucamp. Nucamp is a new type of coding bootcamp, and we have a very important social mission, which is to help all aspiring career shifters to have the opportunity to enter the digital economy. That's what we're trying to do, get coding to more people out there. And we do that by being the most affordable, but also the most local and the most flexible coding bootcamp out there. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what is behind those words. So to begin with, I want to just spend a minute on what makes Nucamp special and how it came about. If you look at the opportunities out there for people who want to learn web development, the easiest way or the simplest way to begin your journey is probably to go online and register to one of the online courses that are available out there. There are numerous courses that are either free or extremely cheap to help you learn to code. What's tough about it, though, it is very hard to be committed and to go through a full program, a full stack program, through an online course. Online courses are flexible. You can do that on your schedule, but the challenge is keeping the discipline to go through it. And of course, the lack of support. It's the biggest challenge. Learning to code is hard. Without any support, it is a lot harder. And so the other opportunity to learn to code, the other option available to people out there are traditional coding boot camps. And they're great in the sense that if you can commit the time, if you can commit the money to register to a full-time boot camp for 3 or 4 months, then you're in really good shape to get a job in the industry. It is usually a full-time format or close to full-time. The challenge is you need to quit your job, and the average price point is $12,000. So obviously this doesn't work for everyone. Some people can afford it, can actually afford to quit their job to do it. But we want to offer another option to all the people out there for whom this is not a viable option. And so Nucamp is a hybrid format. With Nucamp, you actually learn online during the week, somewhat at your pace, but you're still challenged to complete the activities required during the week. And you have the support of an instructor. And then you meet on the weekends. And so there's a portion online and a portion in person or via video conference. And what this does with this hybrid format is that you stay motivated. You have the same structure that traditional boot camps offer. You actually work in even smaller groups, so you've got a lot of attention there. And you have that support with an instructor, but it's only less than $2,000. And that's the massive difference. You don't have to quit your job. You can do that while you work full time, and it costs you a fraction of what traditional boot camps will cost you. We'll get into a little bit more details on how we do this and what this means for you, but this is basically what we're trying to do to make coding more affordable to everyone. So what's been the history of Nucamp, and where do we offer those boot camps today? So we started off in Washington State in 2017, and we rolled out this concept in several cities there. And then from there, in 2018 and 19, we rolled it out across the US. So right now we're present in person in over 25 cities, and we actually offer our boot camps in over 180 cities across the US in a remote workshop format. I'll talk a little bit more about that. We have 1,500 students that have gone through the program or that are currently going through the program. We've delivered over 100 boot camps. And right now we actually have over 170, it's no longer 100, but 170 instructors that are part of the Nucamp instructor pool. More importantly for you, the feedback that students are giving on our program is outstanding. We're rated 4.8 over 5 on Course Report, which is an independent website that actually tracks coding bootcamps and the satisfaction of students. There are others out there, Switch Up, for example. You can check our reviews there. And it just says that, you know, our program is well tested, it's serious, it's out there. And it's really now something that's available across the US. So what are we offering? Let's talk a little bit about the boot camps themselves. We have an introductory boot camp, which we call the Web Development Fundamentals, which is a very short boot camp. It's only 4 weeks. It is only $350 for $349 actually in early bird pricing. And the goal here is for complete beginners to get a taste of what coding is about. Help them understand, you know, how coding works, get an understanding of, you know, what a future career in coding could look like, how they could be spending their days, and just see if it's a good fit. You know, we don't want people to be committing to a 3 or 4 months program without understanding what they're getting into, because it's actually a lot of work. And so that's why we have this this first intro bootcamp. And then from there, you can actually decide to go to the real deal, which is one of our advanced boot camps. We have 2 flavors. Ludo will talk a little bit more about the curriculum, but in a nutshell, those are the boot camps that allow you to get a job once you complete them. You will get all the skills that are required to be a web developer, whether a front-end web developer or a full-stack web developer. And the programs are 17 to 22 weeks. And they're also extremely affordable. The total tuition is ranging from $13.72 to $17.65, but really it is monthly payments. So it's about $350 or a little bit more now per month, just to make it affordable for people. Of course, if you have some experience already, you can jump directly to one of those advanced boot camps, and we'll talk more about that as well. So the format of the boot camps is the same for the introduction boot camp or the 2 advanced ones. It follows a weekly rhythm where from Sunday to Friday, you learn through video lectures, through coding exercises, quizzes, challenges. You also get to work on a project portfolio, which we'll explain a little bit later. And you should expect to spend 1 to 3 hours per day working on basically your coding skills. You do this with the support of an instructor. So we have online support. It is a dedicated instructor. It's not like it's a call center. You are part of a group in a class with maximum 12 other students, so really small groups, and your dedicated instructor will be with you through the whole class. A class is 4 to 5 weeks, and there are 3 to 4 classes in each boot camp. So once you've worked through the program during the week, you get ready basically for the Saturday workshop, which is sort of the capstone of the week, right? It's where you recap all the learnings, make sure your skills are, you know, correctly understood, and actually apply them on a workshop exercise that will just help solidify the learning. But also during the workshop in the advanced boot camps, you'll be progressing on your project. So you build gradually your project throughout the boot camp. It's a 4-hour workshop from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And there you'll interact with the other students and with your instructor, either in person in a workshop location or via video conference. And then once you're done with that, you get a short break, and then you jump again into the next week to continue to advance in your coding journey. So our workshops take place in co-working spaces. That's part of our business model. It allows us to be cost efficient, and so we can pass those savings to you. And it's also a way to connect in an environment that is, you know, friendly, is actually pleasant, but also is at the heart of the software development community in your own city. We try to team up with co-working spaces that have a software developer community hosted. Sometimes there are other boot camps happening there actually, because that's a way to start to network with other people in your community to think about your next job. And so you have access to those workshops on Saturday mornings. It's actually part of your tuition, so there's no extra fee there. And basically, you will be spending 4 hours there on Saturday mornings. They're usually located in downtown. We try to make it easy to access. So that's the first important point in our business model, and what helps us to be affordable, because we don't have our own buildings, our own premises. We team up with co-working spaces that like our social mission and help us by giving us a really good price to use their space on the weekend. And then the key part really of Nucamp, what makes Nucamp so special in our opinion, is our instructors. We have incredible instructors, and they have a couple of things in common across the 170 plus. There's a few things that make them special. First, they're what we call active industry practitioners. They're not teachers. They don't come from university background. They are software developers that work in the industry. And so the knowledge they'll pass on to you, the way they're going to teach you to code, is a very sort of hands-on, job market oriented way to code. They will help you, of course, on coding skills, but they also pass on their knowledge on how does that actually happen in the real world? What are the expectations there? And that's really important, because at the end of the day, you really want to be prepared for a job, not just learn a new skill. The second important point is that they're all passionate and excited to give back to their community. That's why they teach with Nucamp. None of our instructors are full-time with Nucamp. They all have another job, a main job, and they do this on the side. We compensate them, of course. We want to be fair to them, but it's not a crazy amount of money. So the reason they do it is really because they want to help others. And so that makes for a very caring instructor community, and that's really important for you as a student. And then the third important part is that they're local, right? Including in smaller cities, they live where you live, and so they can help just connect with the local software development community as you start to prepare your career transition. They can give you tips on what are the meetup groups, connect you with a local company or things like that. And they do this very informally. It's not very structured, but it's also the reason why they're coming to help and give back with Nucamp. But finally, I think what's really exciting is they're an incredibly diverse community. While they all have those things that I talked about in common, they have a lot of stuff that are quite unique. Some of them are, I would say, your typical traditional software developer. Nothing bad about that. Gone through a computer science degree, went to work for a large company, currently working in a large company, but want to help others get there through a different journey. They realize that there are a lot of people out there that didn't go to college to get their CS degree, and they want to help out. But at the other end of the spectrum, you have people that actually went through a coding boot camp themselves, know how hard it is, have started to work as independent consultants, have now started their own business around web development, so they are entrepreneurs, and again, want to give back and help others have a similar path. So very different backgrounds. And what's really great is that during an advanced boot camp, you go through 3 to 4 classes, and you will have a different instructor for each class of 4 to 5 weeks. So you'll get a chance to be exposed to different backgrounds as you go through your boot camp and get a feel for the different sort of career paths that are available out there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ludo to talk a little bit more about what it's like to be a web developer.
Thank you. And before I get started, just a reminder that you can ask your questions online. We will answer them in about 15 minutes now, so continue to ask your questions. So Karim mentioned about how instructors will help you not just learn a new skill, but also enter the industry. And so just to let you know why we chose JavaScript as I would say, the main programming language that we teach. It's simply because it's right now in the industry, the language that will open the most doors and will really give you access to what we find from Indeed or ZipRecruiter, an average salary of $70,000 as a junior developer nationwide. Now, of course, that number changes depending on where you live, but that's really the average. So just to make sure that you realize that our curriculum really is built not just for learning the JavaScript coding language, but very much to prepare you for getting that new job at the end of it. Now, I will talk about the curriculum itself in a little bit more details to really give you a good idea of what you will be able to do at the end of those bootcamps. The first course is also the first bootcamp. And as Karim mentioned, it's a 4 weeks introduction to web development that really will teach you the main 3 technologies, the main pillars of the internet, which are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. At the end of this bootcamp, you will be ready to continue. You will not be ready to get a job. That would be too short of a time invested to actually pretend to get a job in the industry. That said, you'll be able to enroll into our front-end or full-stack bootcamp. And here, what we will teach you is a wide range of competencies, I will say, that will give you the experience to build commercial websites, commercial mobile applications that you will be able to push and sell on an Apple device or a Google device. And then we'll give you the skills, if you choose the full stack bootcamp, to really work what we call the back end of any company, which is managing the servers, managing the data, managing the services. Now, if I go into the details of that, I will start with what we call Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a JavaScript framework that was actually built by Twitter several years ago. And Bootstrap is a very easy to grasp language, I will say. And it actually gives students almost immediate satisfaction in seeing how quickly they can build beautiful and responsive websites. Now, what does that mean, responsive? Well, that means you will be able to build a website, and with the same code, that website will look great on a big screen, let's say a 68-inch TV, will look great on a smaller screen like a laptop, and will actually respond and adapt its UI, its experience, to also look great on a very small phone, so a small device. So that's really what Bootstrap does. It really helps you arrange visual elements on a website so that they can adapt to the size of the screen. What Bootstrap doesn't do is really handle complicated data or processes, or allow someone to fill in a form or put an item in a cart or check out and do a payment transaction. That comes, I will say, with React. React is a little bit of our a major course. It's a 6 weeks long course, and it's a keystone, I will say, moment in the bootcamp, where suddenly you will learn a programming framework that is so powerful that you're going to be able to really build complex websites, Twitter-like website, Facebook-like websites, any kind of, or Amazon-like websites, things that really would be very complicated to put in place, like handling a user profile, or managing a shopping cart, or displaying a catalog of products, or displaying a thread, in an infinite way where so many people are answering that you never stop scrolling. That's what really React does, and it's the moment where students really find it the most challenging, but also the most rewarding once you're over that hop. Now that leads me to the next technology, And this one really is about allowing you to take all the learnings that you've built to develop and deploy websites, and in almost a magical way, turn that into a mobile application that you as an entrepreneur or as part of a development team can push out to the Apple Store, the Google Play Store, and suddenly make available to millions of people, monetize, etc. And you see how interesting it is. You will start by building a website, and then the exact same code will actually morph into a mobile application. And the users will not be able to tell the difference. They will not know that it used to be a website that is now a mobile app. And it's an extremely powerful tool. By the way, I forgot to mention that both React and React Native have been developed by Facebook. And even though it's a very new, actually, framework, I mean, both are like 3-4 years old, it's also the #1 framework right now in the marketplace. And now, if you're interested, if you want to continue on into what I would say a full stack journey, you will want to know about the backend side of things. So far, we've talked about how you will build user experiences, right? Either web or mobile apps. But then you will have to, at some point, you or someone else will have to, at some point, store that information somewhere. The user profiles, their shopping cart, the financial transactions, all of that will have to live somewhere. And that's typically in what we call the server side. This is also where you hear about the cloud, right? You will store that information in the cloud. You'll retrieve that information from the cloud. You'll manage people authenticating into your app in the cloud. And so that's very much what we'll be teaching you here with Node.js, Express, and MongoDB. MongoDB being the database that we will teach you at the end of this bootcamp. So that's very much it. Those, either the front end or the full stack, will actually open the doors for great job prospects in the industry. And you can decide to do one or the other. And you can actually also decide, if you start with front end, if you really want to, at the end, discover more, you can actually upgrade to full stack. Now, what's very important in your journey as you learn is to build something tangible. And it's something that hiring managers will probably ask you questions about, not just about what have you learned, but what have you created. And so throughout your journey, we will help you to build 2 to 3 portfolio projects. So projects that you will be able to showcase to a hiring manager as an expression of your creativity, as an expression of your skills. These projects are slightly different from other projects that you will otherwise do, in the sense that they will actually build up over time. So if you think of our 22 weeks bootcamp, you will build a project from week 1, and you will continuously add to it every week, so that at the end of the bootcamp, you'll have something that will have a lot of depth to talk about. And I will compare that to otherwise, showing one tutorial here, another tutorial there, which is interesting, but also doesn't offer the level of depth that we are proud to offer through those projects. So know that you will have a very rich portfolio of projects with a lot of depth to go into with hiring managers and hiring conversations. Now, with that, we want to remind you of the schedule, the when bootcamps are starting next. We are seeing our front-end and full-stack bootcamp being filled up in several cities. If that's the case, I don't know, for example, Seattle, Minneapolis, Dallas, I think Atlanta are all, if not filled up, almost filled up with a maximum of 12 students. So if that's your case in your city, you probably want to look into the March 2nd cohort for full stack and front end. Or you should also know that we offer those same bootcamps in a 100%, I would say, online formula. So if you're actually fine attending Saturday workshops remotely, signing up to an online version of those bootcamps would work for you. We care a lot about offering the in-person experience as well. That's one of the things that really differentiates us from other online bootcamps. So if you do care about that in-person experience on Saturday mornings, then just sign up, well, either for the January 27th date, if there are still seats available, or to the March 2nd, if not. You should know that you still have access to the early bird rate for the web development fundamentals that starts on February 3rd. And that early bird rate, which is $349, ends on the 20th, and then it goes up by, I think it got
$399.
$399 right after that. So not a big difference, but still, if you know you want to do it, you probably want to do it before the 20th so that you have access to that lower rate.
So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in that chat box. Make sure you get all your questions out of the way so you can take a decision and take advantage of that early bird rate.
Awesome. All right, next, what we would like to share with you is customer testimonials. I mean, we talk a lot about how happy we are with Nucamp, but obviously it doesn't compare with real testimonials. At the same time, you can check out course report. If you type in Google or any search engine, course report, Nucamp, you'll find all our reviews and have an even better idea of what we have to offer. So let's do that. And we'll be back in about 1 minute and 20 seconds.
I wanted to look at a career opportunity that would be lucrative. And Nucamp kind of popped up, and I liked it a lot more than the other ones. I liked that it was more flexible. I didn't have to like quit my current job.
They're basically very student friendly.
And our instructor is awesome, Minay, and she's just really helpful, like really like above and beyond.
She's very helpful, and every time when I have a question, I can ask her and she can respond. The careers basically has no end. You can grow and grow.
I was really excited. Yeah, in fact, I mean, if anything, I was like wanting to do more.
But I really like the way it's been this hybrid learning process.
I love that. I love that it's during the week, because I wouldn't have been able to do it if I had to meet every single day. So I love that I can find childcare on Saturdays, and the rest of the week it's online. But yeah, sometimes I'm like doing my homework and I get all excited. I'm like, this could be my life. So it's kind of cool.
All right, thank you for staying with us. I hope you enjoyed that video. You should know that we have additional insights into our graduates, alumni. You can check them out on LinkedIn. We have a rich community of alumni. I'll say a few things about Aaron Goodrum in Tacoma, who's actually used to be a truck driver, and after doing the bootcamp, joined a local company as a software quality engineer. Nasir Bush in Spokane, who was actually employed in a company not doing development, and actually then got a promotion as a web developer at the end of the bootcamp. It also happens that a year later, Nasir contacted us back saying, hey, I'd love to give back. I really enjoy what you guys have done for me. And he's actually one of our highest, best graded instructor right now. There's actually a review and course report mentioning him by name, saying how great he is. So as Karim said, we have a really wide diversity of persona in our instructor pool. You can check out other profiles that said they're publicly available on LinkedIn. With that, I think we're ready for the Q&A. So please go ahead, ask your questions online. Karim and I will be ready to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we have a first question from Jeff asking if the videos are downloadable or must you have an active internet connection? So I don't know about the videos.
Yeah, actually they're not downloadable, but there may be a hack somewhere that makes them downloadable if you want to do that. but by design, by default, they're actually not downloadable. I would say, though, that our curriculum is available on mobile phones via an app. So you do have to be always connected, but you don't have to always be on your laptop, for example. You can actually learn on your phone as well.
Okay, great. And then, so we have a few participants that are looking for to be instructors. So that's awesome. Thanks for joining today. We have a question on, do we have a location in Lexington, Kentucky? So we do, yeah, we actually do. We do not have enough demand yet in Lexington to hold on in-person workshops. So that's a good opportunity for me to share a little bit the process and how things work based on, you know, whether there are enough students registered or not in a given city. So what we do right now is in a number of cities where there's already a lot of students, we're committed to delivering in person. So those are typically slightly larger cities. But we also wanted to make sure that Nucamp was available in all the other 180 cities. And so what we're doing there is, by default, we're offering the bootcamp in a remote workshop format. So if you register in Lexington, typically you would be grouped with other students from Lexington. So you'll all be in the same class, but you'll probably be grouped with, you know, another city, you know, 2 or 3 from another city and maybe 3 or 4 from another city, but still a maximum of 12 students. And then you will be meeting your instructor via video conference on Saturday morning. So it's exactly the same experience throughout the week. And on the weekend, it's basically the same format for the workshop. The only difference is, again, that you're with your instructor via video conference, and you're interacting with the other students via video conference. We like to group students from the same community because you still have the option to meet with your classmates outside of class. Probably won't happen in the intro bootcamp, but as you move on to the more advanced bootcamp and you start to work in project, it's important to be plugged in locally to be able to connect locally. What we do as well is, as demand builds, if we have more than 6 students in a given city, then we'll try to move that online workshop to be an in-presence workshop, because we're already recruiting instructors in those cities. We're not waiting to have enough students to do that. So in many cases, we have instructors already available. It's just a matter of having enough students for the class to be viable, to be able to cover the costs locally.
Do we have, so Lala love the name, has a question. Do we have military discounts?
No, we don't have any specific discounts for different sort of audiences. And the reason is we try to keep it simple. We try to make it really affordable for everyone. We're 85% cheaper than the other boot camps out there. What we do as well is we offer by default monthly payment plans. So if you are on the intro bootcamp is a one-time payment of $349, but all the other boot camps, you only pay a fraction at the registration and then monthly payments throughout. So it's 4 to 5 monthly payments. So again, we try to make it as affordable as possible.
Luciano, you have a question about are the bootcamps covering data structures and algorithms? I would say yes, with a grain of salt. So we do go into data structures, arrays, objects, variables. We do go into algorithm with loops, conditions, functions, you name it. But the grain of salt comes from the standpoint of the fact that computer science degrees are the ones that are really going the most in depth in those concepts. And so most coding bootcamps, I would say, do cover, like us, data structures and algorithms, but typically not as much as you will cover them in a computer science degree. So that's really and it's actually a design decision and a conscious decision to not go too deep into what I will say academic knowledge and spend too much time on that at the expense of practical knowledge. And typically coding bootcamps are known for being more practical than academic. and of course, there's no good or right, or you want to probably do both if you can. But yeah, that would be the situation here.
So we got a question about the requirements on the computer.
Yeah.
So this one's pretty easy. It's basically, if you're going to buy a new computer, and if you're going to buy it new, you need to hit a $500 sort of machine. So that's a little pricey, but if you can afford it, that's what you need to shoot for.
Yeah.
In terms of specs, yes, we do recommend having an i5 processor equivalent, 8 gigabytes of RAM, an SSD, so you can really go through the boot camp with a good machine. Those is really for advanced boot camps, and as you get to sort of more the classes towards the end, if you're just looking at the intro and you don't have that kind of a machine, no big deal. You can probably go through with a much lighter machine, and then think about that as you progress through boot camp.
Yeah. And actually, we recently added in our FAQ. So if you go to our website, in our FAQ, we have listed a few examples of those computers. What Karim just said is really important. That level of specs really becomes necessary once you start React Native. And after that. So that's actually when you're running multiple systems on your machine. And suddenly running all those multiple systems make it really challenging for the processor, the memory, and everything.
Yeah, so Naomi, you were asking if you can rewatch this since you missed the beginning. Absolutely. You just click on the link that got you to this meeting after, maybe give it a couple of hours, and you will actually have the full video recording of this meeting. Placement rate in Nashville. So that's a great question. So I can't answer specifically for Nashville, or actually I can, because we don't yet have graduates out of Nashville. So we don't have a placement rate there specifically. But let me take the opportunity here to maybe broaden a little bit the answer into our placement rate. We're very different from traditional boot camps in the sense that people don't quit their job to come and do this boot camp. And so when they finish the boot camp, they don't necessarily look for a job immediately. It is, some do, but oftentimes it's more a gradual transition. You know, some students will actually want to continue to work on their project, want to maybe experiment web development through a few, you know, consulting gigs, or you know, help a family member or somebody they know build their website, things like that. And then, you know, gradually transition to this new career. Actually, some of the stories that Ludo talked about earlier were exactly that. You know, Aaron, for example, I think landed his job
3 months later.
Yeah, as he continued to work through. So just to say that, and by the way, some people do not necessarily transition into a new job. They get either promoted internally, or they use their new skills to just, you know, help be better at what they do. So our job placement rate is not something we can track very effectively. We're actually working on that. But today we don't have good statistics to share. What we can say, and it actually is also in response to a question about, will I be ready for a new job, is yes, absolutely. If you work hard through the curriculum, if you put in the hours, if you complete all the assignments, if you actually work through the extra resources that we are offering, you will be ready to land a job at the end of the boot camp. It's not a guarantee. We try to be very open and transparent. You know, other factors come in. You're interviewing skills, you know, what employers are looking for, but you'll have the skills required to apply and land a job. You know, the depth of the curriculum is the same or better than other full-time boot camps. The type of knowledge you'll gain through that practical approach that you're getting from instructors is really what prepares you for a job. But I'd like maybe Ludo to say a bit more about what kind of job, what is a realistic expectation as you come out of the boot camp?
Yeah, so once you finish the boot camp, you really should think of yourself as a junior web developer. Most of our graduates will have spent 6 months with us. Some will have spent a little bit more time on their own before joining Nucamp. But by and large, you will have had a maximum of 1 year of learning experience. And so you should consider yourself a junior web developer. In terms of the companies that will want to hire you, we want to be very transparent with our graduates that they should not actually seek to enter the big tech companies like Microsoft or Facebook or Google or Amazon. And the reason I say that is because those companies have very, well, there's a lot of people applying to them, and there's a ton of competition. That gives them the opportunity to raise the bar. And so it will be, for a junior developer, really challenging to get into those big companies at first. You can absolutely expect to qualify a few years down the line. I would say 2-3 years down the line, once you've actually really put in practice your knowledge. Now, if it's not the big tech company, who else? Well, everybody else. The world is changing. You've probably have heard that any company those days is a tech company. It doesn't matter if their primary product is an internet product. Everybody actually now has to sell on the internet. And so what you find is a local SMB, small medium business company needs a web developer. Your very traditional plant, for example, manufacturing company needs a developer. And of course, local startups who will want actually to bet and invest in junior developers will be happy to hire you. And so that's really how we help our graduates, is to really first have the right expectations. Don't waste your cycle. Don't waste your energy and your spirit trying to actually compete with other graduates from maybe computer science or people who've actually been in the industry for 5 years. Stay local, stay crystal clear on what you're worth and what you can get into, and you'll be very successful by doing that.
Yeah, and again, what I want to just make it clear is that the skills are what's most important, and the skills that are in high demand next year, or actually this year, there'll be 500,000 jobs unfulfilled in the industry. So companies are actually lacking web developers. And so if you're a smaller company, a more traditional company, you just don't find enough candidates. So if you're able to come out to them with the right skills, demonstrate those skills, and that's why we have, projects, so you can, come out and show your work, then you're in a really good spot. The interviewing process is very skills oriented. It's not like a sales job where there's a lot of just interpersonal skills, soft skills. This is about what you can actually do. And so if you work hard to demonstrate that, you're in really good shape.
That's right. Hey, Jeff, yes, I forgot about the AMD processor, and the Ryzen is the best, in my personal opinion. It's just that many people associate processing power with Intel, and so we use that. But yeah, by any means, if you want to jump into the latest AMD processor, go ahead. You'll make me, it will be very satisfying.
You want to take Addy's question on the common projects that students work on?
Yeah, absolutely. So every student starts with what we call the learning project. So throughout the curriculum, from the first day to the last day after 22 weeks, every week you're going to work on the Nucamp camping project. It's kind of a play on the words, but it's about a website and then a mobile app that's doing an inventory of the great camping sites. And so you work on that. Everybody works on that one every week, and that supports your learning. And then in parallel to that, every week, you'll work on your own project that will follow the same path, right? So if during that week you've learned a new trick in JavaScript, you'll add that trick into your learning project and also your personal project. And so that personal project will be developed in Bootstrap at first. And so it will be responsive, beautiful, but beyond being beautiful, it will not do much. And then once you get into React, it'll be beautiful and functional. And then once you get into React Native, it'll be beautiful, functional, and as a mobile app as well. And so you can see here the progression and how you'll have, depending on how you think about it, it's either a series of 22 small projects every week, or it's one big project. That's the depth that I was talking about. After 22 weeks working on one thing, it have a lot of depth that will actually work very well in a hiring interview.
Yeah, so income share agreements question from Nikki. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to expand a little bit on this one. We don't like them. Let's be very clear. We don't like them because we don't think they're fair to students. If you think about it, they are extremely expensive for the student. We said earlier that the average cost of a coding boot camp is $12,000. If you look at ISAs, income sharing agreements, that will take the cost to 18,000, 24, or 30,000 for some of them at the end when you finish repaying them. We think that's crazy. It's exactly the opposite of trying to make it affordable, and it's not because it's deferred revenue that it isn't a real dollars. If you compare to the $20,000 to $30,000, we offer 4 to 5 monthly payments of $350, and I think that's just a more cost-effective way of doing it.
Yeah. And I would say just if you qualify for an income share agreement, that means you've passed all the tests, and the company who's offering you the income share agreement really thinks that you're going to be good enough to be able to pay it at the end. That means you actually don't need it. If you pass it and if they're willing to give it to you, that means you're going to be successful probably. And so don't pay twice or 3 times the cost down the line. Actually, either go a very traditional route of taking a loan and you've actually been told by someone reputable that you can actually do it, or come to us and actually don't even spend the money. That expensive money. So be very careful if you're considering an income share agreement. Those who qualify actually don't need it.
It's a really good point. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm interested in an upcoming boot camp, but already I have planned vacation dates during the boot camp. May I miss 1 week, Naomi? Yes, absolutely. We say on average you can miss 1 workshop, not a full week, a workshop during a class. So a class is 4 to 5 weeks, but you got to make up for it. You actually have to complete all the assignments. You have to complete the workshop assignment itself. So you need to get organized around it. Again, the workload is planned to be 2 to 3 hours a day. So if you're going to be on vacation, try to fit in that work there so that you don't fall behind. But you can definitely miss the workshop itself. Okay, so if there's not enough people registered, Brian, will the course be canceled? So again, it kind of depends what the city you're in is set up as. You can see this in the schedule. So if you go to the schedule of your community, your city, go on the website and look for it. You will see in the schedule if it is labeled as remote workshop or not. So if it is remote workshop, you know that it's going to be via video conference, and that class is absolutely confirmed no matter what.
Yeah.
And then maybe if we have enough students, we'll transition it to in-person, but most probably it's going to happen via video conference.
And that's the case for Simple.
And that's the case for Simple right now. In cities where we are already delivering in presence, we basically will run the class if there are 6 students registered. And if we're running them in presence, that's usually the case. If we don't have 6 students, then we will actually roll over the class to 5 weeks later or offer to the students to take the class via video conference.
For Simple in particular, depending on how close you are to Minneapolis as well, I mean, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis is in person today and is a very vibrant community. So if you're worried about Simple not being in person or being canceled, I'll encourage you to look into Minneapolis instead. You'll have a much higher chance of getting in, being in person, and all that.
All right. So if there is a class, oh, hold on, I'm lost. I'm lost here.
Well, Christina, thank you for sharing the feedback about really enjoying Nucamp and what we're trying to do. It's always great to read it directly from a student or someone interested. So really appreciate the feedback.
Oh, Tyler. Okay. So question about how comfortable do you need to be with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to continue on with the full stack course? And I guess behind the question as well is, can I jump to the advanced full stack course right away, skipping the intro? The answer is yes, you can. There's a simple test that you can actually go do. The link is in our Q&A.
FAQ.
FAQ, thank you. And if you score 85% or more, then that means basically you're ready to go to the full stack right away. So it's pretty easy for you to find out.
Yeah. Go to the FAQ on our website.
Yeah. But once you go through our intro bootcamp and you've completed it, and you didn't have any major issue, then yes, you're definitely ready to take on the full stack program. You can definitely register to both back to back. They are lined up, so you can do one after the other. If during the HTML, the intro bootcamp, for some reason you're not happy, it doesn't work out, you can actually cancel the full stack bootcamp. I want to also clarify our cancellation policy. You can cancel up to the start of the bootcamp, and there's no fee involved whatsoever. Again, we want to make it easy and flexible for you. If I miss a class online, is there an option to catch it on replay? The answer is no, and that's by design. We really want students to be in the workshop and work with the other students. And also, obviously, we have some IP aspects as well that we need to consider. So we don't offer our workshop in replay.
And I'll say to that, it's very challenging to listen to a 4-hour recording of an online session. I couldn't do it. I don't know many people who actually could. So I don't think you'll get actually a lot of value in getting a 4-hour replay of a live event. So yeah.
Yeah. So is there a class in Orlando? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yes.
And it's in person over there, not just yet. We are in person in Orlando. Okay. Pradeep is asking about Enduring Developer with Kotlin. Is it
Yeah. So basically, I think the question is around, can you join for just one class?
So the answer will be no, especially if you're thinking about jumping straight into React Native. The technology is really built on top of one another. So React Native builds on top of the knowledge acquired in React, and React is using the responsive design and library of Bootstrap. So we actually really will not recommend someone to just jump into React Native and instead do the full experience.
So if I start the front end program, can I then switch to the full stack? Is a question from Anthony. The answer is yes, absolutely. There's an upgrade process. It's all online. It's slightly more expensive if you do it that way, so you have to consider that, but not a lot. It's maybe $20 or so. But you can definitely go for the front end first, and then decide later if you want to upgrade.
Pocky is asking about installing VMs on the laptop, or can we use a program like Atom? So it's actually two questions for me. I'll start with the last one. We use an editor called Visual Studio Code, which is the equivalent of Atom. And so you're not using a VM at that moment in time. So when you do, for the first bootcamp 4 weeks, no VMs, Bootstrap, React, no VMs, just straight editor. With React Native, you install a mobile phone emulator. So it's not really a VM like you could have in mind, but it's an emulator to try and test your mobile app. And then the last module, Node.js, MongoDB, no VM, but that's also when you start to run a full server environment on your laptop. So the server website, MongoDB, which is a server database. So that's when you can, but it's still very much, I would say, quote unquote, native to your computer. Yeah.
So Eddie asking about running the course on a Mac versus 100%. Windows. Yeah, absolutely. You can run on a Mac. Ludo and I have constant arguments on Mac over Windows.
I'm Windows.
And I'm Mac. I've given up on Windows a long time ago. So yeah, no, absolutely. You can use both. It's really no difference. One works just a lot better than the other, but that's my view.
One restriction is we do not support Chromebooks. So that will be the thing that will probably not work. You could make it work somehow for the 4 weeks bootcamp, but beyond that, I would say don't go with a Chromebook. They're not meant for development.
Okay, and we have a question. What time during the week do the online classes take place? So there are no set times during the week. That's part of our flexible model. During the week, you work at your own pace. You log on during your lunch break, on your phone in the bus or the train if you want to go through the videos and through the content. At home in the evening, whenever you want. You interact with your instructor via chat, but it's not real time. So you're stuck on something, you will basically, through our platform, through our Slack platform, message your instructor, or through our learning platform, we have a separate one. Hey, I'm stuck with this, I don't understand this, here's my code. And then the commitment from the instructor is to get back to you within 24 hours. They themselves are working full-time very often. So they'll either set office hours for you. If that doesn't work, they'll just respond, via chat, and help you out this way. So it's very flexible program during the week. And then obviously the weekends are very, very fixed times for the classes.
So follow-up question from Pradeep. So apparently you have already registered for the bootcamp. Well, if you're fine doing that sequence, then great. You should actually continue to do that. Again, the sequence is you will first learn Bootstrap, then React, then go into React Native. So up to you. If you really just wanted React Native and you've registered for the bootcamp just for that, yeah, that probably will be a waste of time and money if you just did it for the React Native course. But again, otherwise we will walk you through those other technologies that are actually needed for React Native. Okay.
Okay. So you want to take the other follow-up question?
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, Ubuntu on VM on your desktop, that will work fine. Yeah, absolutely. As long as you can run Visual Studio and everything else. Right now, our instructions are for Windows and Mac, but as you know, Mac OS actually underlying it is Linux. So you will find the terminology pretty straightforward, being a Linux guy.
All right, and then our last question for now is how long is each class and how many days a week do you meet? So just to recap here, our Intro Bootcamp is 4 weeks. Our front end bootcamp is 3 classes, a first class of 5 weeks, Bootstrap, a second class of 5 weeks, React, and a third class of 4 weeks, React Native. And then our full stack adds 1 more class of 4 weeks, which is our MongoDB Node.js class. So it's 4 to 5 weeks for each class, basically, and a total of 17 to 22 weeks for our advanced boot camps. And then during the week, again, no meeting in person. It's up to you on your schedule. Some students like to get together,
yeah, I was going to say,
in the evening, locally or via video conference, but that's, completely up to students to get organized in the class.
Especially to work on their portfolio together.
Exactly. But there's really no constraints there. It's very flexible. And then just the only mandatory meeting time is 9 to 1 p.m. on Saturday morning.
Follow-up question on that from Anthony. Can you watch the live workshops on the phone? I will say no. And I actually want to make sure that we didn't misrepresent something. You can watch the video lectures on your phone, but you will need to be with your laptop pretty much at all times to actually do the exercises and do the coding. You can't do the coding on your phone, right? So watching videos, to learn to learn on your phone is fine, but on the Saturday workshops, you will have to have a laptop, either in person or if you're actually joining online, you'll have to be on the laptop, because those 4-hour sessions, only 1 hour is a lecture, and then the 3 hours is you coding with your instructor.
And it's a 4-hour total for the Saturday class 30. So hey, with that, we're up on the hour here, right?
Awesome.
So just wrapping up. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning. We really enjoyed your questions. We hope we answered most of them. If not, there's actually a really more questions and answer in the frequently asked questions section of our website. So we encourage you to take a look at that. And of course, we're available. If you have more questions you want to send to us, just send an email to info@nucamp.co, and we'll be happy to answer back. And remember, take advantage of the early bird rate. It expires on Monday. So if you're interested in starting off with the Introduction Bootcamp, that's kicking off on February 3rd,
Yep.
then make sure to register before Monday. With that, we hope to see many of you in one of our upcoming boot camps, and wish you a great weekend. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.